Now I know what you're thinking. Why is our Christmas review focused on the three Caballeros of all movies? Well, besides the fact that today marks the film's 75th anniversary, I'll just let Donald answer that question.
Christmas! Jingle bells, jingle bells! For goodness sake, not jingle bells!
The Three Caballeros is one of the most unusual entries in the Disney animated canon, and perhaps the most well-known of the package features of the 1940s. Its characters have persisted through the decades, appearing in comics, films and shorts, television shows, a recent spin-off series, specials, and even a starring attraction in Walt Disney World. Yet, despite its popularity and the historic role it played in Roosevelt's Good Neighbor policy during World War II, alongside its companion piece Saludos Amigos, Caballeros is out there. I mean, really out there. This is a film that features flying gambling donkeys, half-woman, half-horse hybrids, dancing men that turn into cockfighting roosters, and to top it off, the birth of Jesus. And tying it all together, we have a horny Donald Duck. So the question is this: is The Three Caballeros an engaging masterwork, or is it surreal lunacy? Or both? More importantly, is it required viewing?
I never actually made it all the way through from end to end. I had attempted to watch it many times and could not complete it. And yeah, that's where I'll leave it. But I had never seen it end to end. No.
Where was your Three Caballeros wall? Was there like a one point in the film where you're like, nope, I'm done. This is over. I'm done with this.
Right when it said Three Caballeros.
It didn't help. It's hard for me to put a point on it. It's kind of one of those things where as a kid, I kept running into different parts of it, but never really saw like the absolute beginning or realized what was going on to watch the very end. I even had to stop the movie at some point and text you going, what in the bleep is a flying donkey doing in here? Are we that desperate to keep the theme of flying and feathers in this bitch that we got to give a donkey wings?
Caramba! What's this?
Did he drink some Red Bull? Where's the product placement? Wait, Red Bull isn't a thing in the 40s. Just what the hell is going on here? You know? And then all I could think of after that is once TJ got to it, it might involve a little bit of hashtag troubadour pipes. But what I'm trying to say is no, for me to actually claim to have this from end to end as a viewing experience was not something I had. It was an experience. I'll grant you that.
Oh, my friend, you are using the wrong finger. Now, blue.
First off, let's go ahead and put it out there. I did not know that this was like a real thing. Like having visited with House Nash, several months ago and gone to the Kingdom, I saw the movie poster for Three Caballeros and I'm like, oh, they got, fake movie posters. It's cool because I saw another one for the Three Little Pigs. I was like, oh, that's cool. I thought it was all fiction, bro. Now, granted, this is all fiction, but I thought it was all fiction, right? Saludos, bang. I'm like, okay, I'm informed. Schoolhouse Rock, old school, I'm with it. Three Caballeros, I didn't know it was a thing, but it's a thing.
I mean, they even have their own Epcot ride in the Mexico Pavilion in the World Showcase section of that park. A redressing of an older ride, but it's there, and Hosea Carioca is still, to this day, the most popular Disney character in Brazil. He even has a long-running comic book there. So these characters, and Jose was introduced in Saludos, but this is a film that really pushed him to the limelight because it's the film that still persists. This was actually the first Disney VHS I ever owned. I credit this film with being the reason why I have an affinity for Latin American music, because say what you want about the film, like it or hate it, the music is extraordinary. The music is fantastic in this film.
Yeah, there are parts where that does carry things. Absolutely. I'm on board with that concept.
This film is a movie that has a lot of different parts, where Saludos Amigos kind of strived to educate. Three Caballeros is more about the immersive experience. They're having a party and they want you to feel like you're part of the party. So unlike a lot of the package films from the time, the separations between the sections aren't as distinctive. With the exception of the first two shorts of this film, the Cold-Blooded Penguin, Flying Gachito, the rest of the film is kind of a blur. Now, the argument can be made that there is a lack of direction, but it's not as segmented as the other films from the time.
Yeah, the flying donkey flitting that bitch like a glove. Let me tell you what. Moving on.
I think the best way to tackle this is to kind of separate the three different presents that Donald Duck gets. And the first present is the one where it talks about the different birds of South America, and you have the two most conspicuous shorts. You have the cold-blooded penguin and the flying gachito, and in between, you're introduced to the immensely crazy Arakan bird, or as I like to call it, the devil spawn of Woody Woodpecker and Carrot Top. What did you guys think of this present as an effective or ineffective opening to this film, and what did you think about the two different shorts? Kyle?
Well, first of all, thank you for making me feel vindicated in the actual similarities between that bird and Woody Woodpecker. I am justified in the instinct I had. Although one thing I didn't do was laugh when it was all done. Oh my God! Listen, maybe the drug trade was a thing in the 40s down there, and maybe it wasn't. But now I know why that place is the seat in the world for all the damn weed. Holy sh! Anyways, and actually, no, you're right. I shouldn't say weed, DJ. That's offensive for any drug basically used recreationally in this country right now, for the most part.
I remind you, these are the two perhaps least trippy shorts in this film.
Thank you for beating me to the point, Demos, because if you think some freaking donkey sprouting wings to race like he's on some sort of a PED to put what? Son of a...
You preferred the cold-blooded penguin?
It made a little bit of sense.
It's the only one where I felt like the geography lesson was obligatory in that one.
No, it felt like it was definitely shoehorned in. And listen, you asked the question, and with my little tantrum aside there, you asked the question in terms of how was this as an intro to the film? It wasn't. I felt it took away from anything. Listen, you're trying to shoot me in the face with culture. That sounded awful. And expose me to what's going on with South America, and you come out with penguins and flying donkeys and actually lead into culture. Very confused. I listen. I would say it's a very confused intro to what the rest of the movie was trying to be, in my opinion, especially if Saludos Amigos was trying to be that good neighbor piece, okay? Three Caballeros was that neighbor piece that needs to build a damn fence, because I don't want to see what you're doing over there at spring break. I'll let you boy.
Let us know how you really feel. TJ.
I am holding back for the climax.
Oh, boy.
Saludos Amigos was a smooth intro to what Latin America was, while Three Caballeros was what it really is. You couldn't have handled Three Caballeros up front. I like the way that they did it, but the one thing that I will say, because you talked about all three parts and how it flowed together, I honestly feel like this was supposed to be more of a symbolic way of saying, okay, yes, we are all different, but we all flow together, and it happens. So there you go, the tie. But if I'm looking at the beginning, man, I mean, Chili Willy, he was cool, I mean, ultimately what
literally that was the problem,
right? It reminded me of the short that, we used to get before the main event whenever I would go to the gym theater in my hometown. Ultimately, that's what the penguin and the flying donkey was. It was like the little short before you actually get to the main event of what the movie was supposed to be. But if I'm looking at both of those, I mean, one was saying the grass is always greener, and it was a perfect example of that, because he didn't like the ice anymore, and he finally got to the heat, and even then, when he still got there, he was upset about something else. So, you're always going to be looking for something. Boom, message. And then, with the donkey, I mean, it's like, hey, don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on him. That cat got wheels.
This is the only section of the film where I feel is the most, for me, disconnected from the rest. I don't have particularly strong opinions on either of them. I thought the cold-blooded penguin was charming. I thought that some of the puns were awesome. I love visual puns.
Of course you did.
Of course, it's me. Flying Gachito, I thought was cute. I saw what they were trying to do. It is very similar in many ways to El Gacho Goofy from Saludos Amigos, especially when they're breaking down his entire wardrobe and what each one is, and also a lot of the gags with the narration. I think El Gato Goofy did it better. For me, the film really hits the next gear with the entire Bahia section. From the moment Jose Carioca shows up in his little pop-up book to the moment it collapses and they open the third present, that entire section of film has a dynamic mix of color, music, imagination, and technical wizardry. The combination of live action and animation. There have been films that had mixed a little bit, little tiny snippets before. Fantasia did a little bit. Even Walt Disney, he got his start with the Alice in Wonderland black and white cartoons, where he mixed a live action little girl in black and white silent cartoons. But no film had ever done it to this level. And this opened the door for many other films coming after. Song of the South, So Dear to My Heart, Mary Poppins, and eventually down to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But some of the scenes in this section, the one visual of the book open and all the live action dancers and Donald zooming in and front and back, it's a kind of amazing to see from a film in 1944.
Jose is that dude. Like, I get why he's so popular. Like, he just looks cool. Like, forget Joe Camel. Like as far as marketing, forget Joe Camel. You put any product in Jose's hand and I'm down. Like, he just looks. If anybody wants to sponsor it, I will get a Jose tattoo. Like, real talk. Like, Jose is that dude. That whole section really just started to flow into it. The music there was awesome. The music there was absolutely awesome. And like you said, that's where we get by in. So if I can say real quick, Donald has no chill. Like, Donald has zero chill. And that's always been a thing. Like, it's a running joke. Donald has, like, no chill at all. I don't necessarily know how you're supposed to approach a woman anymore. I don't know how, but I know that what Donald did, that ain't it.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm glad you resisted the urge to make the joke about Donald being the goofy white duck in the room. So, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, but if he was smooth and calm, then he doesn't play the movie. He needs to be awkward for this interaction to work. And listen, maybe I'm the problem here, but I don't know how you get cool from Jose at all. First of all, anything that green, hard for me to associate it with cool, just in general. I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule. There are plenty of exceptions to every rule. But from his weird-shaped crooked beak to being a green parrot, which, by the way, green parrots in general, I find personally annoying. Parrots in general are dirty animals. That's a me problem, I guess. And then you got him in here with a pinstripe suit and a hat that looks like somebody who's selling snake oil should be wearing, and that's cool. Hey, if I'm the problem, that's what I'm okay with admitting that. But I don't.
You are
from this guy. Hey,
you are.
And
green is my favorite color, man. Green is my favorite color. Who are you son of a bitch?
Not that shade, son.
What makes Jose an intriguing character and makes the pair up between him and Donald is that he is, in every sense of the word, the antithesis of Donald Duck. It makes the dynamic between the two a lot of fun.
Him by himself, not an entertaining character. With Donald as the ugly friend at the club going with him, hero.
Okay, I see what you're saying. In the same way that I think that Donald Duck works best when he actually is playing against a foil. He's playing against somebody else. If Donald is driving the story completely by himself, and sometimes it works, but I think it's much more strong if he's playing off somebody else. And I think that we saw quite a bit of that in Saludos Amigos, the Lake Titicaca versus Brazil at the end.
Absolutely.
I'm actually thinking about Jose and Donald, what they're like whenever they clock out. And I'm telling you, Jose is cool. And I don't know, man. Donald might be cool to hang out with too, man. I could see him just sitting down and being just like, that would be so cool to me. Just for clarity, this is my section where Donald is chasing tail, right?
And that is something that even reviewers at the time did discuss, that there was an uncomfortable sense of bestiality about a duck pawning after live action women. Reviews at the time
and you're
noted that this was
taking it too literally.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit down and think about how the act would occur, but it's not. Donald is the everyman, loudmouth American character that you're supposed to identify with. You're not supposed to think, I am a literal duck. How am I going to get my feathers to do their thing?
Yeah, I pray these guys don't ever watch The Princess and the Frog. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, I thought that was a part of the joke. I mean, Donald was never going to get them anyway.
That's a good way of saying it, too.
Hashtag in vogue. The feeling I had from a lot of what I saw is the first thing that came to mind is, I know this is early, but does this predate some of the stuff that you see where it's famous in a lot of cases? And I think the answer in most cases is yes. For example, the whole live action concept, which you mentioned the whole thing and all the work done with the book, that's something that's made famous, and you are practically perfect in every way, Mary Poppins, more than is in this movie, as far as I'm aware. And that's a gimmick that they took there. The whole concept of the whole shrinking down and that whole concept, that's something you see in Alice in Wonderland. Fairly certain this came out before that. I feel like this is a situation where there might have been some experimentation going in, as well as, they're pushing the envelope to try to impress and capture the minds of those whom they are trying to sell with the good neighbor piece in question. And then you see a lot of the devices in question used in later Disney films where they become more famous in this audience's mind. So you can't help but think there were some good things. We've already cited the music. I definitely like the dancers and all that. Some of the imagery was strange. Oh, look, they're turning into roosters that are fighting. Isn't that a metaphor? No, but
it does look awesome, though.
I'll allow it, but it's so hard to put a cockfight in a positive manner. And then I'd laugh because I said cock. No, but
Well, two birds are cheering it on. It's kind of strange now that I think about it.
That's kind of strange, right? Flying donkey, cool. But come on, man. Anyway.
That's where I draw the line. Yeah.
Jesus. But listen, if we're going straight from a technical standpoint, this is easily the single bright spot in this movie compared to the rest of it as far as a technical mastery. The music's awesome. We've been over that. A lot of the stuff they're doing technically is fantastic, mixing in the live action with the animation. And they don't have the advantage of green screens the same way that they do now, obviously. Very cool stuff there from a technical standpoint.
The next section introduces Panchito, and we have the big song, The Three Caballeros, which is prefaced by an evolution of something that we saw in Fantasia, the soundtrack, and Donald getting caught in the soundtrack. But the song itself, I'm telling you right now, there's never been a song from Disney that had as much quickness, action, humor. I mean, the humor reaches almost Warner Brothers level of violence at one point. Up until Friend Like Me from Aladdin, I don't think we've ever seen a Disney song that is as just hectic and frenetic in its energy and style.
I think the biggest thing that this section has working against it music-wise is that the section with Aurora Miranda was so strong. That bar was set pretty high, and they kept kind of trying to do the same thing. For me, it kind of detracts from what this was kind of doing at the end. For me, at least, the energy that was built in all the cockfighting, the theme was kind of blown out of it by the time you had the three birds doing their thing.
I'm all into the colors. If you are looking for a vivid ride, this is definitely for you. And after the cockfighting, you should have already been paying attention because it's getting weird. It's getting weird.
It just keeps getting weirder.
This song really was very active, and there aren't a lot of very active Disney songs between this one and A Friend Like Me, because I'm thinking, Cinderella and all that jazz. Like, really? Like, what were the mice doing? When she's trying to find somebody to put that slip on. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this was as slapstick as it was going to get, man. I was into it.
Which is funny because this little section of murder, death, and fire is followed by an oddly religious moment in a Disney animated film showing the procession of Mary and Joseph, the story of the piñata. And
weird, too. I didn't even know what to make of that. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I saw this section. I'm like, this looks like It's a Small World. Well, it turns out artist Mary Blair, this was one of the first Disney films that she ever worked on. She pretty much designed the look and feel of It's a Small World.
Yeah, Sausalito's Amigos, that was a whole educational thing. So they had to get some education in there. I'm not surprised, But they told me something I didn't know, so point for you.
It left me wildly confused. I was kind of waiting for you. Seriously, as I'm watching this, I'm kind of waiting for you to guide me through it because I know it's going to come up in the show. And I'm better off listening than talking for this particular instance because, again, I'm still not past all the dancers going and all the cockfighting. And I've already made the rooster joke, so I'm not going to do it again. That was trippy enough. And then you did this. I had kind of a, and get your bleep ready, folks. I had that tobacco moment right about then. So yeah, that's where I was at, kid.
You weren't expecting baby Jesus to show up at the end of this road at one point.
That was the last thing I was expecting. In fact, I thought the other guy was at work once I saw imagery involving turning dancers into cockfighting and Aurora Miranda over there turning into whatever the hell that is.
I kind of view this section and the following song, Mexico, it's kind of like that quiet moment in a party, that breath before the craziness continues. Because at least 2 of the 3 postcards are dance lessons. And I think the only one where it does work between Patzcara, Veracruz, and Acapulco is the middle section, Veracruz, where you have Donald dancing with the lady, starts doing some jazz, nice use of colors, and the 3 of them working very together. It's like the last semblance of sanity in this film before it goes off the deep end. I gotta ask you, at any point when Donald is at Acapulco Beach, did you think that they filmed this in Acapulco?
Nothing about it just said Acapulco.
Demos, again, this is that moment that I got to give you credit. Like we mentioned something in an early episode of Default Assault about your ability to, you could see you're watching a simulated scene of somebody, performing cunnilingus, and yet you could stop and go, the technical way that this particular person positioned their head between her legs, you can do that. The last thing I did watching this was going, did they really film that in Acapulco? I don't know.
They really trained a duck to put on a swimsuit and play blind man's bluffs with half-naked women. I mean, I think that the most realistic thing about that scene is the blatant wall behind them, which I guess symbolized or foretold the future.
Wow!
Now, this was filmed in the Disney backlot. They covered the entire parking lot with sand.
I was right.
And I doubt that most of those women were even Hispanic, but this is one of the most notorious scenes in the movie. I mean, this is Horn Dog Donald at his most voracious.
Yes. It's a cartoon duck. I mean, listen, maybe you haven't noticed yet, but Donald's kind of an asshole. All right. I mean, this is what he's going to do. If you took it that seriously, relax. You got bigger problems in this film. At any moment, you might turn into some sort of an angry fowl. Okay, so joking aside, for the time, it's what you need it's what they did as a caricature of a character to do that. And at the end of the day, Donald ends up looking like the fool. It is what it is, or Jose bails him out. One of the two.
I'm just thinking about how much more tourism Acapulco got after seeing this film, because it pretty much laid out this beach as being like an entire manless fantasy land of beautiful willing nymphs.
Nymphs? What the?
Tobacco!
They're all just sitting there waiting for, they're so desperate they're playing sex games with a duck. I mean...
Okay, what?
He has a way with words, doesn't he?
What did you think of Acapulco, TJ?
Not that.
Did Donald go overboard in some respects? I mean, like I said, if you wanna be upset, and I'm sorry, if you wanna be upset, there is you'll find it, regardless of whether I'm gonna point it out for you or not. If you're looking for a reason to be upset, you'll find it. I mean, but I looked at it as cute. But I can see why somebody might see this and say, what, they didn't respect me whenever they made that. I can see it. So, I mean, I get it. But, I mean, I just looking at the movie and trying to separate myself from any type of righteous cause, I can say that, Acapulco was pretty fun.
When people ask me, Demos, what do you think is the trippiest Disney movie? They usually expect me to say, Fantasia or, Alice in Wonderland. I mean, it's a film that it goes without saying. I contend it's the Three Caballeros because this last section, just beyond the surreal imagery, which is accentuated by the weird, almost profane mix of live action and animation. So many pyrotechnics that it eventually resembles a Latin American Michael Bay film. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that this package made it through U.S. Customs. It's trippy. There's some moments of brilliance in there, but it's trippy. What did you guys think about this last section, starting with the song "You Belong to My Heart," which was later covered famously by Bing Crosby? Beautiful song, starts off well, and then it just keeps going and going and going until the film just ends.
This part right here is really where I kind of just perked up, because I was just like, wow, like there's a lot going on right now. A lot of the color green. Totally okay with that because I like the color green. But man, like that was a lot going on. The legs going back and forth, and I'm just like, wow. I don't know how it all made sense, but it works. It worked in Alice in Wonderland. It works in Three Caballeros. Holla at your boy, Demo.
This entire section just keeps going. He's flying through the clouds. He turns into a neon light. There are human-horse hybrids. Suddenly he's a hummingbird dancing with a woman, and then he dances with this other woman who turns into a cactus.
Why not? Why not?
I can see a lot of people being turned off by it, but at the same time, it's very experimental, and it's kind of indicative of a style that persisted during this time. You kind of saw it in other films, such as Bugsy Berkeley hit some of his musicals, The Gang's All Here, which also had Carmen Miranda, funny enough, that had an ending with neon lights and disembodied heads. It's kind of a style that's indicative of the time, but I've never seen a film take it to the extent the Three Caballeros did. Kyle, what did you think about this, of Donald's surreal reverie?
Well, I spoke to Senorita Traveling Pants, and she gave me a recording of Tokeo Jamison, a.k.a. Mr. Hand-Me-Down Trousers, enjoying this section of the movie.
It's so pretty!
So, if I could see why he would say so. Listen, sure, it's a marvel to look at, but why? Like, I got Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park running through my head. You were worried about whether or not you could have. You didn't stop to think whether you should have. Okay, oh my.
So you're saying that this last section of the film is the embodiment of chaos theory?
I have an explanation.
Okay, leave it to the man that actually has 3 kids to understand the chaos. Holla at your boy. Go ahead, TJ.
All right, so The overriding theme in both films has always been music. I mean, and this is a different style of music though from what we usually get from Disney film, which is usually orchestra. In orchestra, there is always a climax. For you opera people, that's when your fat lady is going to come out and belt something like that is absolutely nasty, and usually it goes to a different pace than what the play was in the opera prior to her singing. So this is the swan. So this is the climax for the movie. So if putting it in terms of music, Disney, Mickey's at the podium with the baton and he's going crazy, freaky crazy with all the horns. They're going crazy and everything. Yeah, this is that part.
In a strange way, I never thought I would ever say this for a film of its ilk, but The Three Caballeros has a type of ending that is left up to such crazy interpretation akin to a David Lynch film.
That's a great best case scenario on your part, Demos. I think the reality is more like, okay, dancing cockfights, check. Spiritual references, check. Buttload of culture hidden in songs, check. Oh, how do we end this damn thing?
Just end.
Bleep if I know.
Both fight and fireworks. Getting literally shoved up his butt at one point, which is like.
I mean, I perhaps even shooting him out of a cannon would be appropriate. Whatever. Why not? Why not?
All I can say is, now that we've taken this journey together, what are your overall thoughts on the film, and do you consider it required viewing?
The short and very sarcastic way to put it is I find this to be a very fantastic experiment that was a wonderful student film by little Walter Disney, okay? Let's be clear about something. This movie was in no way spectacular, but what is beautiful about it for you fans out there, and I know at least one person on the panel is going to use the foundation defense to sneak this bitch into required viewing, and it already pisses me off. The thing about it is, this is in fact accurate, that it is a lab experiment that you are allowed to watch, and that's it. No, it's not required viewing. It's done other places. If you are a Disney file, like our good friend Demos is, you are going to see it as such. You're going to enjoy every stinking minute of it because you are in fact a Disney file, and that's okay. For the rest of us who are sane enough to, see a little bit of a buzzword when dancers start turning into cocks and fighting, okay, maybe the Murtaugh rule caught up to me. I don't know. That's the most I got for you. But no, it's not required viewing. Listen, again, a fun adventure where you were allowed into the lab to see the experiment. That's it.
You told me, wait till the last 20 minutes and you will absolutely enjoy it. And in the last 20 minutes, I thought that it was a visual masterpiece with all the color. I really like Tim Burton movies because Tim Burton uses a lot of color. So whenever I saw that, anytime I see color, I got to show love. Now, when we're talking about is it required viewing, the chaos of the film is not a problem for me. I like chaotic movies. I mean, I like Quentin Tarantino, and he's a pretty chaotic guy. So I'm cool with it. I don't know what was going on. And that sounds really bad. No, I can't, man. I can't do it.
The biggest issue I think that this film has is it has a lack of direction. It has an inconsistent tone and jarring changes of pace.
Yes, that's a good word.
Individually, some of the sequences are striking, and the color palette that is used in this film is very unique from this period of Disney animation. It definitely stands out, and I think it is one of the strongest animated films from the 1940s, probably due to its experimental nature. The music alone is worth watching this film, but is it required viewing? Absolutely not.
Whoa. I just wasn't prepared for that. I'm like, you're over here going like with the color palettes. There's so much that even Bob Ross would go, holy fireball! And
Bob Ross would take a look at those happy little clouds and get freaked out when they turn into neon dancing horsewomen.
I would go, this is awesome!
There's a lot to like here, though. And like I said, that second present, the entire Bahia sequence is worth a watch. If the entire film had the pace and energy of this section, I think it would have been something truly worthwhile.
Yeah, Demos. Why, thank you. No, today it's your day to say you're welcome.